Welcome to the Epic Gaming Night Podcast, a podcast about the stories and relationships board games create. I'm your host, Roy Cannon. With me today is Kent.
Hello.
Courtney.
Hi.
Ruthie.
What's up?
Adam. And Rob.
Hello.
I got tripped up because we're missing you, Matt. I was this close to saying Matt. I miss you, Matt.
Matt's here in spirit.
Matt's here in spirit. He would
Always,
rather be
always.
here, I'm sure, than be at work. So, there's that.
Yeah.
And I almost tripped myself up as well about calling Kent Slenderman. So
Oh, it's
Great.
about
Ruthie's
relationships.
here, though.
Roy.
Ruthie's here from the beginning of the podcast.
Well, yeah, I don't want to get threatened again.
Oh yeah,
What's it-
My life is on the line.
No,
It's violent.
We're just
text
happy to have you back.
we're just happy to have you back.
But yeah, we are here to do a podcast about all sorts of things. One of the things we're talking about today is going to be which game you would choose in different situations with like different groups. We're also going to talk about news and what we've been playing. But I know we're going to see Kent and Courtney again soon, right? That's going to be like in a couple weeks.
2 weeks.
Yay.
Very soon, yeah. So
Oh,
it'll be Dice
snap.
Tower Retreat. Very
Dice Tower
excited.
Retreat.
Yes.
Ruthie was saying we should go to a restaurant with you guys while you are here or something. If you
Okay.
could pull
Yeah,
Kent and
awesome.
Courtney away from a game, that would be a miracle. But
we always go out to eat at least once or twice
Yeah.
at a place like this.
gotcha.
Nice. Yeah,
It's easier to pull me away from than Kent, but yeah, I'm
Yeah.
game.
We gotta eat, so I'm happy to
The
go.
hot dog place
Roy,
we
you got to
went to
beat them both
yesterday.
badly at something, and then they won't want to play anymore.
Oh, there you go.
No, Kent's the type where he'll want to play to get revenge. I'm not going to lose like that.
I don't know. Is it possible to actually beat
I don't
Courtney
know.
in games? I don't think that's a thing, right?
Oh,
You,
definitely
beat
is.
Kent, you never, ever really beat Courtney.
No.
Yeah, Courtney's really good.
You just taught her a way to beat you next time at best. That's
Yeah. And if you do win, you still lose after the game.
That may be true.
But yeah, how have things been with everybody? It's been, I guess, a couple weeks like normal. Anything new or exciting going on before we jump into the things?
I'm still bugging on this Lorcana name. I think that's so dumb.
Just the name
that's
itself.
the name?
About the name, because like I want to be able to buy this thing and it to be relevant, but like I'm trying to figure out where they get the idea for Lorcana. Like it makes no
Telling you,
sense
the
to me.
point of the
Because
game is to get
it's
lore,
lore.
and
Yeah.
then if they're mixing that with Arcana, which is magic, so magical lore. But I don't know what it has to do with Disney necessarily. But
That's
you know.
that's what's throwing
Maybe
me off.
because
It's like
all
yeah,
the
sure,
stuff is
Lorcana
mashed
makes
together. Like all these different universes are mashed together. I don't know.
And it's kind of like imagined Disney universes as well. You have characters that are doing things that they wouldn't normally do in Disney stuff.
Yeah.
The art for the game is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's pretty
Amazing.
cool.
Yeah.
it's
Kent
a
drove,
pretty word, Rob.
Kent drove 2 hours to go get us some. So
Did
Yeah.
you play, Kent?
I played it a ton. I've played
yeah, our
so much.
son loves it.
Oh, that's good.
That's
We
good.
played
Yeah.
it a ton. Yeah.
I taught it to Ruthie, and she hasn't played a lot of like collectible card games or CCG type stuff. So she was just kind of like, "What?"
It was a little difficult for me to get into. I'm like, what is going on?
But it's like the theme and the IP is something like you should love.
I do love. Love the art. I'm like, oh, I love this character. I want to play this down. And Roy had to keep telling me what the cards do and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just because I'm not used to it. So
Yeah.
And it's very much in the vein of Magic the Gathering. Like it feels super
Yeah.
close to Hearthstone or Magic the Gathering or Keyforge sort of thing. Like
Do you guys
insanely
think
close.
it's be relevant in a few years?
I do wonder once the demand or once the product meets the demand or the hype of it, I wonder if it's just going to be like a Dice Masters sort of thing where it kind of like like people like it and then it slowly fizzled out over like years. I mean, if they do a really good job at making the sets outstanding, I could see it doing well, but it'll be interesting. I built
can
a deck.
see people buying it just for the art though too.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's enough to sustain it, but
How does
Right.
the weight of it feel to you, Roy? Is it? You
It
said
feels.
it's like
It
Magic,
honestly
but-
feels like even the starter decks feel about like a Magic like dual deck. I wouldn't even say. I think Magic intro decks are easier to play than like a regular deck of Lorcana.
Oh, no kidding. That's
Yeah,
That's
so
a little
it's
surprising.
It's a little bit more complex than I thought it was going to be. I think it's more complex than Pokemon. Would you say so, Kent? It's hard for you to like. You're very used to Magic type
So
stuff,
I've played
right?
a good bit of Pokemon also, and I'd
Right.
say, and I've played a lot of Magic. I'd say certain situations of Pokemon can be more tricky because like certain Pokemon
Right.
have crazy powers, but in general, yeah, Lorcana's probably more strategy, more going on. Like
If
in
you
general,
take a starter deck of Pokemon and a starter deck of
Yeah.
Lorcana,
It's
Lorcana's
definitely-
going to have more
there's
combos.
definitely more
in
going
it.
on. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that Steven, our 7-year-old, has never beat Kent at Pokemon, right?
Never. Yeah.
But he beat Kent at Lorcana tonight
Yes.
How did that happen, Kent? Were you
for
were
the
holding
first
back?
time. For the first time.
There's no way.
No, I was not. No, I was not. Totally not. Yeah, I found Lorcana is like a game where you can start running away with it, and it's hard to stop someone
Yes.
from doing things.
So Tom had a bunch of extra cards after they had finished making decks, and I looked through them, and I basically looked through everything, read all the stuff, and was like, I think these cards are good. And I grabbed those cards and built a small deck with it. And I was like, hey, Z, you want to play a game? And so we played a game with Lorcana, and oh my goodness, Z might kill me next time I try to play anything like that with him again. But yeah, it was the fact that it's really hard to slow someone down. I built basically like a deck that just draws cards and then like locks down your opponent to not be able to quest themselves. So it was like
Card
green,
draw is so huge in that game.
it was green
It's
and
so
purple,
powerful.
and these cards were like common cards. I had like Mad Hatter and like all these things that were just drawing cards like crazy, and I just ran away with it pretty quickly because I was also just gaining a ton of lore. And it's hard to slow your opponent down in those situations.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, there's not much you can do to stop somebody.
And there's not very many board wipes that I've seen in the game.
There's
Maybe
one in
they're-
red. That's the only one, and then there's some in silver, kind of.
Right. But if you do enough card draw, that doesn't even matter that much, I don't think. You know, if you just keep drawing cards. So, what was I going to say? Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's funny because I built that deck, and then I went online to like look at the price of those common cards, and they're the most sold cards out of the game. And I'm like, I guess I can pick them, you know?
No kidding.
So, but yeah, Lorcana's a thing. I guess people are going to play it for a little bit. We'll see how well it goes. I don't know.
Yeah, like you said, I think it depends on how good the sets that come out are.
Mhm.
You know, because I feel like people are going to get tired of the starters and stuff now. But then,
Yeah, I feel like
if
it
they
already,
make good sets that come out later, then I think people will keep playing it.
I feel like it already needs new cards based on what look at all the cards in the set.
Oh, that's a problem. Yeah, I feel like what made at least. Oh my gosh, what is it? Sorry for anyone who's not played CCGs and doesn't want to hear any of this, but I think like in the late '90s when Magic went into fourth edition, I think.
Yeah.
That was like that was kind of the big reboot, and the amount of content that Magic pushed out in like that 2-year period, you could have 8 different decks, like with just splitting cubes with your friends, like just going and buying boxes, and that was how Pokemon was too. A few years later, like I didn't play much Pokemon. I'm a little too old for like I was already playing Magic by the time it had really got its foothold.
Yeah.
But I played with my kids, and it's just like the reason those two are the two ones that at least to me are still around is because you can buy a few boxes and not have to spend like $300, and you can build a few decks out of that. I think if you have to be buying boosters and hoping for a few rare cards just to like diversify, it's going to burn people out who want to play it really fast. So
I mean, now you probably can do that with Lorcana. Now, if you're trying to do like competitive, it's a way different story. But like, you definitely can build functional decks with just some packs.
Yeah.
yeah, I guess I mean like just to play even like casually competitively is more what I was thinking. Like
How
there
many
was such a
different
stretch there.
archetypes are there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and you could just surprise people. There was so much variety in Magic. Like you might not
for
win
sure.
somebody twice, but I remember showing up to comic book stores and being like, "Oh man, I'm about to do something that only has Goblin cards, and you're gonna hate me by the time you figure it out." So I don't know, I'm interested to play it. I want to try it out, but I'm afraid to ever like a CCG again because I like being married more than I like buying booster packs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rob's like, I brought up Lorcana, and I'm sad that I did.
No. I want it to be good because I eventually want to play with my daughters. I think it'll be the CCG that I could get my family into. I just think the name's dumb. I'm disappointed that it's like $10,000 basically.
Ruth
Were
was
you
like,
trying
I
to
don't get
search
this.
for
We're
it?
building ink. It's like, we're making ink? What is this? Flipping over cards for ink? What
Well,
is
like
this?
call it something more Disney-ish
so
or something.
grumpy.
Like,
If it was generic Disney, it'd be hard to search for. It's even going to be even harder to buy if you can't find it with some generic Disney name.
Yeah.
well, no, I come up with something a little bit more than generic Disney. I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar company. I just think Lorcana, to me, I get it. I get the lore and the Arcana. I get it, but that doesn't fit Disney. That fits like something else. So it would have been cool, like something else. But anyway,
Jiminy Cricket's realms.
I just don't want it to be so expensive. Or or like Mousetrap. That would have been kind of fun. Or something like that.
That would.
That'd be hilarious.
That game already exists.
Yeah.
No, but now they make it like, and they have a picture of like the black and white Mickey Mouse on there from the train when he's doing the whistle, and all of a sudden you see like the colored Mickey behind him with like a big axe. And he's like, no. That's like
Yeah, I don't know. That might go against the spirit of the game, but
well, aren't you supposed to destroy each other in the game?
You do a decent amount of that.
You
Which is,
really do.
you're
There's a decent-
challenging. There's no.
So it's
There's-
like,
there-
It's
when it gets
undecided.
it is
It's
definitely
undecided
straight up
what
murder. I'm when I play, I don't say I'm knocking your character out. I'm like, I am killing Mickey Mouse. I am killing Cinderella.
You're
That's basically how the
banishing
game is.
them.
You wrecked
No,
me.
no, no,
They
no.
become banished. Yes, you
Kill.
banish
Banishing
them.
them.
You wrecked me.
Yeah,
I'm sure
they're
they
just
don't like
banished.
that.
yeah, that's just like the fish when it goes in the toilet. It's going to fish heaven. It got
Yeah.
banished.
It is
Right.
crazy to me that you can have four of the cards in your deck, and then you can also have all of them in play at the same time. They're like, oh, we don't care about
Yes.
uniqueness, we don't care anything. I just kept like spamming Mad Hatters out. I'm like, Mad Hatter, another Mad Hatter. Guess what? Another Mad Hatter. And guess what?
Yeah.
Another Mad Hatter. You know, it's just strange. So good times. Anyway, well, let's go ahead and get into some news here.
What's in the news?
What's in the news? The first thing here is two different things. So I know this picture is kind of blurry, but I got off the internet. But so there is going to be. This is from. Oh my goodness! Why am I blanking on the name? I should have.
That
Renegade Game Studios and Hasbro.
I had notes in here, Kent. What happened to my notes? Okay, Renegade.
I don't know.
Renegade Studios is making a Transformers version of Robo Rally. So Robo Rally is the game of programming robots and running around. So there's going to be an actual version that has Transformers for this, that you're running around as different robots and transforming. I do think that there's going to be, I think they said there's going to be a slight diversion in between, like the fact that you can turn into like robot mode or vehicle mode and things like that. So it should be decently different than a regular Robo Rally. And then they're also making a G.I. Joe version of Axis and Allies.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah,
I-
that.
I especially added this specifically because I was like, I bet you Rob will be interested in Axis and
Yeah.
Allies G.I. Joe.
Yes, I will pick that up. I'm trying
That's
to
a good
actually get
use
a
of
game
IP.
right now of Axis and Allies World War One. I love that idea. G.I. Joe, Axis and Allies. I'm excited to see how they're going to do it. Are they going to do the grand scale, or are they going to make it more centralized, like on just one continent or something like that? But yeah, I saw the picture in our notes for earlier, and I was like, okay, give me more.
Yeah, because Rob, you have like almost all of the Risk stuff. How many Axis and Allies do you have?
I have 23 different versions of Risk, and I think I have like 6 versions of Axis and Allies.
That's crazy.
Well,
Yeah. I've got the D-Day. I've got a couple of the Europes. I've got the old 1983 edition. I've got the World War I edition, and I've got the Axis and Allies and Zombies. So maybe 5.
But you don't have Axis and Allies G.I. Joe.
Not
Yeah,
yet.
yeah, I don't have that. And there's a couple of other Axis and Allies I want to get. Like there's the specific kind, and then there's one that's just over Europe and stuff like that. I like those big old school war games, and I love the economy behind it, and all the money and having to build factories. And there's a lot more to it than just like drawing a card and building a unit. It's a pretty heavy game, and they're crazy too. So I want to see what they do with the G.I. Joe version of it. I hope they keep it big. That's one of the things that I love about Axis and Allies is because it is so big. You're playing on the world stage.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see what they do. It's also outside of the zombie edition, and I have a couple of these versions, but I haven't played all of my Axis and Allies versions. I don't know of any like special generals that give like special, like if they have like a patent, it says, all right, if you're doing like a land battle, you get to roll an extra dice or something. So I'd be interested to see like why G.I. Joe? Like do you get like a special character bonus or something like that? I hope they don't stray too far from Axis and Allies.
Right.
But yeah, I didn't think I would like Axis and Allies and Zombies as much as I did, but it's actually a lot of fun. And so I'm interested to see what they do with the whole GI Joe. So it's the American hero.
There you go. The more you know, and knowing is half the battle, or something like that.
GI Joe. That's right.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, the next one here is Colosseum is getting a remake from Fantasia Games. The cover on this thing is beautiful. And they're also coming out with I guess, is like a card game version of Colosseum. Have you ever played Colosseum, Kent?
Yeah, we played the TMG version like
Right.
that. So that's like the one that everyone says is not the version you should play. But it was a
Gotcha.
Days of Wonder game that was like
It was available.
fairly popular. Yeah, it was available. But it went out of print a long time ago, and they haven't reprinted it. But it's like an auction game, kind of, where you're performing shows. Like you're kind of moving around this big circular area, and you're trying to perform shows. But it's one of those games too, where you the show you put on has to be like better than the previous show you put on, or you get no points for it.
Interesting.
And it's like all about getting the right stuff for your show and like auction kind of. I want to say maybe some trading. It's been so long since we played it.
Right.
But I liked it, but we didn't love it, and I think the version we had, wasn't that great. So this one looks incredible. It's the art by the Miko, which is the guy who does all the stuff for all the Garfield games and stuff. And then Fantasia Games with Endless Winter, and then what's the new one? The Unconscious Mind. I mean, this looks like it's gonna be great.
They're like powerhouses in like the heavy Euro department, right? At this point,
yeah.
And then they're coming out with this, which looks amazing.
Design. I just saw that. Ian O'Toole graphic design on this is gonna be incredible. So
I put this in here for you, Kent. For you.
Yeah, I think the new version is like a reimagining of Colosseum, but with Johnny Pack helping develop it. It's something like that. So it's like so they're printing like the original game again as it is. And I think there's new updated rules from what it sounds like.
That's awesome.
Or it's like 2 standalone games.
So you go. Nice big Euro games from Fantasia coming out with nice artwork.
And they have some interaction too, because you're definitely trying to get tiles away from people and getting exactly what you need to put on your shows and all that.
Interaction through auction.
Yep.
There you go.
I'd play it.
And that is Colosseum. I hope it's awesome. The next one here is another, oh my goodness, if there weren't enough collectible card games, there's another collectible card game called Altered. And the reason I put this in the news is because it's such an interesting concept of the fact that all the cards come with QR codes on them, and there's a lot of unique cards in this game as well. They're doing a lot of like the Key4G type stuff. But when you have a card, you are the owner of that card, and you can scan the QR code and have the company send you more versions of that specific card. But then you can actually trade ownership of that card, and then somebody else can have them send them versions. But there's only like one of the like master card with a QR code on it. It's a very interesting and weird concept. I wonder how well this is going to go. It's got like Dixit-ish artwork, and like it looks very whimsical overall. But Altered is just kind of like an interesting concept of like being able to have the publisher print you out more of the card if you own the like main version.
You trade cards with different owners? Wait, what?
Yeah, the actual card has a QR code on it, and you can scan it and then go to their website and buy more of that specific card. It's weird.
Yeah, see how that's cost effective.
From what I've seen, we have to pay like a certain fee.
I'm sure.
It's not that expensive. I don't think it's that expensive, but like, so you own the card physically, but then you can sell it to somebody digitally. And then if you try to go to a tournament with that card, it's no longer valid, so you can't use that card again. And the person who bought it digitally has to have the card printed out to use.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
So it's almost like they're taking this almost NFT style idea
Right.
and
That's
bringing
what some
it into a
people were
card
saying.
game.
Yeah, they were calling it like sort of like an NFT-like system, but I don't know. It's very interesting and different.
The mechanics of the game, as described, sound interesting too. It's got a little of that like Roy was saying, the Dixit art, so it looks a little bit like the Dixit scoreboard with the way when they have the pictures of it laid out with the little like tokens, like the characters. You're trying to get the two characters to meet in the middle. So it's got like a Tokeada. I can never say that game's name right, but that
Takedo.
Yeah, Takedo kind of vibe where it's like you're trying to just move them.
Gotcha.
Which is interesting, but why does it have to be a CCG?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right. There's so many collectible card games. It's interesting because it's like Did people just? I think here's what happened. So during COVID, Magic and Pokemon blew up because everybody was stuck at home and they bought a ton of it. And this is like the ramifications of people being like, "Oh, those are really popular," and these are all now finally coming out. But it's interesting how many collectible card games there have been and how many have failed over the years. It'll be interesting to see if any of these new ones they're coming out with all the years of experience, are actually going to stick. Because most of the time they last for a couple of years and they're gone.
Yeah.
Did you hear on this thing looks fantastic though.
Yeah.
Can this be played really digitally too? Is it like, can you do the digital version? Like, I wasn't sure about that. I didn't see that.
Switch and click on this.
I remember that the card game. It came out a little while ago, maybe a few years ago. Age of Sigmar Champions, maybe like 5 years ago now at this point. It had, you could scan the cards. It had QR codes too, and it would add into your digital collection. You could play the game digitally, or play it physically with the same cards. So it was kind of, it was basically a CCG where you could, scan cards and add them to your collection, and then play online or play physical.
See,
but it died.
That would make this more appealing to me, like the idea of like that kind of like you almost have an auction house of honor by selling something or selling it only digitally. If that meant that when I gained ownership of it digitally, like I go to play it on an app and then that person who sold it to me is locked out from using the card, like that could be kind of cool to see things swap and get moved around, like having like this kind of economy. Two things though. The economy would have to have some kind of control mechanism so that it doesn't turn into real money and just get stupid. Like you'd have to like be able to buy credit in the in-game store to do it. I'm sure people would find a way around it, because that always, like, even in video games, that tends to like, I don't know, it gets so nuts when there's like sub-economies for like digital goods within games. It just gets so silly.
Yeah.
It looks like it's coming to Kickstarter February 2024, so it's it's not even on Kickstarter yet, so it's gonna be a ways away. But it looks like the funny thing too that I forgot to mention is that you can buy foil versions of the cards that you get from the factory or whatever. So you can be like, oh, I have a regular version, let me go buy a foil version of it. But the ones that come in have like little blank spots where the QR code would normally be. So it's kind of funny. It's like, nope, it's just a copy, it's not the real thing. It's kind of interesting.
The idea sounds fun, but I kind of hate it.
Exactly. Yeah. It all depends on if the game is actually good. A lot of these things have a lot of interesting ideas, but the game actually has to be solid too.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like they're trying to do something different. I feel like if you're doing a CCG, you got to, or you got to at least do something that.
And it has acrylic standees too. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm team acrylic standees.
Yeah, they're great.
All right, Kent added this next one to the thing. Peacemakers, Horrors of War. Is it an expansion for Dawn of the Peacemaker?
No, so this apparently is like a remade, streamlined version, like reimagined version. So like, there's this game called Dawn of Peacemakers that was this kind of not super popular game, but
Mike DeLisio loves it. But other than that,
I've heard a lot of people like it, but it's kind of a weird game where you're trying to keep these warring animal factions. These two animal factions are fighting, and you're trying to keep them from fighting and stop the fighting by manipulating the combat or by doing all sorts of weird stuff. Anyway, this is supposed to be a quicker playing, like fully co-op. They kind of took what they learned from that first game and have updated it, and have made this kind of reimagined version of this game, and it looks amazing. It's got this like cool little scenario book where you flip open. It's almost like you're playing a storybook. So each one of those pages represents like a different battle. And you have different animal factions that are battling, and you're trying to bring them to peace. So it's kind of a weird concept too. It's a weird theme, but the art's great. I like a lot of stuff that this company's put out. They put out a game called Dale of Merchants, which is like a really interesting deck builder that's like a very different feel than a lot of deck builders. And they put out Lands of Galzir, which is a really cool like narrative story driven game. That's like it's kind of just a random string of stories. Maybe I've never played Tales of Arabian Nights, but it feels a little bit like that maybe, where you're taking your character, you're going exploring. They just do a really nice like production, and they have really cool, interesting ideas that are kind of outside the box. So that's why I put this one in here. So it looks kind of neat. It's one I definitely would like to check out.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've heard good things, and I love cooperative games, so I'd be interested in at least trying this out. And that lizard has something to say on that box cover.
The cooperative part is it's no structured turns. It's like you just talk to each other and you're like, why don't you play your card? I'll play my card. And then you do your whatever you want to do until you decide to stop. And then you see how the battle resolves.
Oh, interesting.
Which is kind of neat.
That's cool. Well, the next one here, I actually talked about this in Board Game Breakfast this week. And Mick didn't think I'd talk about it again, but I am. I'm talking about this is Our Family Plays Games is currently on Kickstarter. You can check out their Kickstarter. Our Family Plays Games is an awesome YouTube channel where they're basically a family that talks about family games and gaming, and just trying to bring more awareness to different board games in different communities. And I love their channel. They used to do Favorite Game Friday forever ago, and they've done so many great things. And I love their stuff. And it's awesome. I saw that Kent actually added this into the news. I'm like, oh, dag, I talked about this already. Well, I'm super excited to talk about it again because I love supporting these guys. And Mick and Starla are hilarious, and Grant is amazing with all of his editing stuff as well. Yeah. And they're just fun. Like they're hilarious. They did a segment on Good Morning America or whatever, and it was really cool. So it's just really cool to see them bringing board games to all sorts of communities and like helping spread the word and awareness about like family gaming. It's about like bringing families together in gaming.
Yeah, they're great.
They're so funny.
Yeah, they're so close to being funded too. They were looking for 26,000, it looks like, and they're at 23 currently as of right now.
Yeah,
or 23,875. So they're really close there.
And they have a ton of amazing promos as well on their campaign. They have even Catan promos, you know, and they have like Plank promos and a ton of really cool stuff. So go check them out and throw them some support. Especially like if you enjoy their content, support them. If you don't know who they are, go check out their content too, you know, just because they're super fun. After I had talked about in Board Game Breakfast, Mick hit me up. I was like, oh man, thanks. Well, he didn't know I was going to talk about it again, but hopefully we can play some games at the World Series of Board Gaming or something like that. That'd be really cool. But yeah.
Awesome.
Good times. Well, I guess we can go ahead and get into the games we've been playing. And we will start with the one and only Adam. I thought about switching out your picture and putting 404 picture not found, but I did not. We have this picture of Adam.
You're such a hero.
I thought I was this close. I was like, I'm too lazy.
It's the picture that everyone deserves. So this picture, I sent this to the group chat of everybody in the podcast. So if you're listening, this is what I hit Roy up with a couple of days ago, and it's because
what is the game? I haven't.
It's Challengers. It's a Latin name.
It's a French game.
Challengers. Yeah. I think it means competitors in ancient Latin. We played the much maligned by Roy Candidate Challengers on Board Game Arena this weekend. Kent and Courtney and Maddie and I played it. And Kent was like, "Hey, what do you guys want to play? Do you want to play Challengers?" And as soon as he said it, I was like, "You know what? I have to play it."
Yes, that was not me. My hands are not even on the page. Kent hook me up.
Oh God. Oh boy. So I had to play the game that Roy gave a 2.
I find it hilarious.
I had a lot of fun playing it.
Yeah. Like I said, you didn't play Challengers. Challengers played you, because that's kind of how the game works.
It does play you. There's a chillness to it because I guess to be fair too, we're a group of people who have played a lot of games together.
Right. Yeah.
We're in contact all the time. So it was nice to play it and be able to kind of converse while we were playing it, because there's points when you have to pay attention, and there's points when you can kind of just turn over the cards and be talking, or just a little trash talking, or just
kind of like playing War, right?
Yeah, it's like playing War, but it's like playing a deck builder or a programming game where you're just hoping that the programming works out because you don't have a choice.
Right.
Which makes it feel, and this is my sell for the game. It's got a casino vibe, and I love casino games, even though I do not gamble in real life. I'm not a gambler, but I always seem to enjoy games where I'm like, this is just some wild chance. So like, there's a couple times when, like, Matt and I had two tournaments in a row where we were just really down to like one card turn, and it just felt wild. You know, I just had such a fun time with it. It really took me by surprise, because I was like, okay, I'm expecting to maybe be on Roy's side of this thing, but I wasn't. I was on the Kent Parker side of it.
I think if people like watching sports or like watching the action happen and like trying to root for something, that's kind of what this is. For me, it felt like I was driving my car in autopilot and it was just crashing against the wall constantly. When I played, I mean, it's kind of random. I tried to build my deck the best I could, and I lost every single game of this. You know, there's no, and I mean, I was just like, why? How did every single game fall apart? It's because just if the cards come out in the wrong order, you just lose, and that's just the way it is. And I can see people enjoying it, but when you get stuck in that situation, it's not very much fun, you know?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of swinginess when we were all playing it, right? I think Kent in general did better than us because, I mean, he clearly had played it more. But the first time I went up against Courtney, I won. So I naturally liked the game a lot.
Right. Which goes to show there's no actual real choice in the game because there's no possible way Adam would ever beat Courtney in anything. You know?
No,
that is true. That is normal circumstance.
That's not true.
Oh man, I think I outscored Courtney once when we were at Rob's this spring in one game, but I still didn't win the game. So that's
Dustin
6
won
months.
most of this.
So for the expansion for this, I kept on going on and on about like my joke of like, oh man, they put the 2 on the box, they put my score on the box. It's Challengers 2. And they officially are changing the name of Challengers 2 to Challengers Beach Cup. And I know it has nothing to do with me, but I like to think the fact that I said that one too many times. They're like, we're just going to give it a subtitle. We're not going to call it Challengers 2.
They were tired of you beaching about it.
Exactly. Exactly. That's hilarious.
I think it's kind of fun. I think my kids will play it. I haven't played it out of the box version yet. I kind of sorted it out, read back through the rules. We'll try to play it this weekend. I'll report back to you guys with beautiful photos if the kids enjoy it. Play more than once.
I'm totally fine with people having fun with games that I don't necessarily enjoy.
Even if they're all psycho for it.
Exactly. And then you played another game as well, like an actual game. What is this? Oh, it's a roll and write. Never mind. Go ahead and talk about it.
I'm just. This is the one. This is the one. What did I play this week? Where I'm just satisfying Kent and Courtney and I. And if you were here, just.
It's good. It's a good one.
It's a good one.
I like roll and writes. Roll and writes are a thing that I did not like until COVID, and during COVID, me and my daughter played a lot of them, and I just and that was a big thing for me. It was a format that she seemed to really enjoy. And this is probably one of the more the most steps. I don't know how crunchy it really is, but there's a lot that is going on with it. It's 2 pads and a center board with interchangeable 6 cards, and it's essentially a somewhat lighter version of playing Dinosaur Island. So Dinosaur Roar and Write. I mean, it's a Pandasaurus game. The box is great. The components are great. The art is great. The dice are huge and chunky. It is fun and tactile to play it, which I think is not a surprise if you played anything else that Pandasaurus has put together. It's really high quality, but it's effectively that. I mean, it's just you roll out your resources and then you kind of double dip on the resources because you then use regardless of the dice face, use the dice to then buy actions, and then the dice you don't draft have a negative consequence in that they give you a certain amount of danger. So sometimes you might not have enough resource to mitigate danger, so you might draft a die that you don't want because you don't want the T-Rex to eat people and have your run of the park not go well. And that's kind of it. Then you just kind of rinse and repeat that, and it's fun. It's really cool to kind of draw the polyominoes out on the thing. I like it. I think it's a fun game, and it's a little bit heavier than On Tour or Harvest Dice or something along that lines. So it feels it's a little more, got a little bit more to do, or a little bit more to plan, a little more variety than those. But it's not overwhelming once you play it. Yeah. I'm a fan.
Roll and Writes find a way. Ooh, we have Ruthie's game.
So we played RoboQuest Arena, and we played it with Scotty and Violet, and it's basically a game where it's a deck building game where you're building little robots to basically punch each other in the face. Yeah, it's so much fun. I had so much fun. So you go around punching each other in the face, basically. What's fun is that if you die the next round, you just respawn on the board. So we had a lot of fun playing this with the kids. The kids knew not to make me a target. That's
You
what
died
was fun.
maybe once the entire game. How many times did I die?
Roy was like, Scotty, Violet, like, gang up on Ruthie. And they're like, no. Because I was like, are you sure you want to come and get me? Because I will get you. And then Violet made sure to be like, no, it's girls versus boys. And she made
That's
sure
cute.
to make me an ally.
Yeah, but everybody just blew me up.
Yeah.
An interesting thing about this game
Basically.
is whenever you knock out the last hit point off somebody, you get extra points, sort of, because basically other people's hit points are your points for the game. So knocking somebody out gives you a little bit of extra bonus, but you're kind of trying to like line people up so that way you can kind of like knock out multiple robots and things like that at the same time.
Right.
You also get points very King of Tokyo style if you're in the middle at like the beginning of your
Oh, that's
turn.
right.
So it kind of like forces everybody to kind of like clump into the middle as well.
It's a lot of fun. I liked it a lot. And the robot in the
Yeah.
the minis are really, really cute.
Like big old chunky plastic robots.
Yeah. And then the little batteries to give you the whether you move, like the cards tell you to move, or what was the other?
So yeah, you can get energy and then you can either like you can move or you can buy more cards
That's
or
right.
weapons,
There
you
you
know.
go.
And there's several different types of cards. There's like weapon cards, but then there's also like
I racked up on
cards that
on
allow you to affect the board
punching
and stuff like
cards.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. I like that game a lot.
Yeah, I want to play it more just because I feel like with the right group, it's just like so fun to just like beat each other up. And it doesn't matter too much if you die because you just come right back.
You come right
know?
back. So, yeah.
It's made by Wise Wizard, which did Star Realms, and it feels a lot like Star Realms with like a board, but you're also beating up robots, you know. So that has that kind of vibe to it. So
That sounds
That's
great.
it.
How
It
long
was
did it
fun
take to
playing
play?
with the kids.
About
it's pretty quick, you know.
We actually added more
So
pieces.
what I had done is because this was our first time playing and we're playing with young kids, there's like a pool of hit points, and once the pool of hit points is gone, the game ends. So I put like a little bit less in there just to be like, okay, cool. Well, we're just gonna do this as like a demo game because I didn't know how well it was gonna go. Well, after we had started playing for a little bit, I just put everything in there that was supposed to be in there just because I was like, we're having so much fun playing it. So like I made the game go the full length, and it still wasn't very long. Like maybe an hour, maybe 45 minutes.
Maybe 45 minutes.
Probably like 45 minutes.
We
It was
played a
very
long
quick.
Yeah, we played the
Nice.
whole. You were like, keep adding more the little cubes.
Yeah, so we added everything back in and played it the way we were supposed to play. I was
Right.
trying to do the parent thing of like, we're going to do a demo of this first to see how well it goes, you know. But now it
Right.
went great. So it was really easy to play. And like, I could see this also, we played it with my kids, but I can also see it being fun with like playing with your friends or
Yeah.
whatever in a game group of just beating each other up.
I definitely want to play that with the game group.
It has like a King of Tokyo vibe to it, you know, but it's a deck building game.
You do draft for the deck building, or do you just have
Every
pre-constructed
robot
decks?
has like a little deck. I think all the decks are maybe the same, but each robot has like a little special power of their own, you know. So, but yeah, it was fun. It was definitely fun. So the next game here is Kents. Oh, we already talked about
Yeah, so
Kents.
I
I didn't realize it was in here.
As we said before, I've been playing a lot of Lorcana with my son. We've been having fun with it, and we talked about that enough. But the game I want to talk
Wait,
about
is that Mad
was-
Hatter on your board? No, that's not Mad. Oh, it is Mad Hatter.
It is Mad
It
Hatter.
is.
This is the
Oh, let
one
me
of the
see the-
starters, the red and
Got
the red
that
green starter.
OP Mad Hatter right there.
Yeah,
Messed up.
but we've been having a lot of fun with it. It's not perfect, but it's fun.
That is fun.
So, anyway, I played In the Footsteps of Darwin. So this is a kind of a very, very light, well, pretty light, family weight game where you are kind of collecting animals to put on your player board. The theme is like you're on the Beagle with Darwin, and you're kind of going around the different parts of the world to collect different, to learn about animals and research them and that kind of thing. But for being a light game, it's got a little bit, good bit of stuff going on. But it plays like I play this with my 7-year-old, no problem. It's pretty simple. But it's basically a tile drafting game where you move the boat around the outside of this grid, and you're going to be collecting these different animals. And the animal tiles go on your personal board, and there's no real choice about where the tiles go. They just go into the designated spot for them. So there's like there's a spot for like birds, insects, like mammals, that kind of stuff. Basically, you're trying to create rows and columns, which help you get basically helps you get thematically. You're like completing research and you're getting extra points for that. You can also stack animals of the same type together. So like if I took a red insect and another red insect later, I would get a theory tile, which is the red tiles on the right hand side of the board that are basically scoring in-game scoring conditions. So the whole game, you're only really taking 12 tiles. So it's really all you do on your turn is take a tile and put it on your board, and you make it a scoring tile. It sounds really basic, but it's actually really pretty strategic and fun and simple. Production is really nice. It's got a lot of super nice illustrations, like of all the different animals. There's a little bit more you can do with there's like you have these little helpers that you can spend to like change where you can draft from. There's something you can do to clear the tiles on the main board, but essentially it's just collecting tiles of animals to either stack them or put them in rows and columns to get either scoring tiles or get like in-game multiplication tiles. And it's just really just looks great. It's just, I'd say it's like a really good family way game if you like the theme and you want something that's like gamers would like, but also, you know, your grandmother could play, honestly. So it's pretty good for that. And that's in the footsteps of Darwin.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, it's got really nice illustrations. It's by I think it's a Hachette game, and they're Sorry We Are French, the publisher.
Oh, nice. Next is Rob's game.
Well, I played My Shelfie. I saw this on the Gen Con list of games that were coming out, even though My Shelfie was out prior to Gen Con. It looked really cool on the BGG hot list, and so I thought I'd pick up a copy, and I really liked it. It is a simple game where you are basically, in my opinion, you're sort of doing, it's not really set collection, but you are trying to, there's multiple ways to score. You either want to have so many cats or animals touching. Like you see in the picture there, you see the dark blue tiles, the teal tiles, the green tiles, the pink tiles. You'll get so many points for so many tiles that are going together, whether it's vertically or horizontally. You want to try to get them bunched up. Also, you'll see on my little card there, to the left of My Shelfie, you'll see a pink tile, like two tiles up, and then the green one. You'll also get points if you complete that sort of setup and diagram where you want that color tile in that placement on your Shelfie. And then also there's a group challenge one where if you're the first one to complete the group challenge, you'll also get X amount of points. And so it was fun. We played with my wife and my daughters and my niece and my nephew. Had a wonderful time. It's not a very heavy game. It's a pretty light game. Marlo liked it, but you know she wanted maybe a little bit more challenging. But the kids really enjoyed it. I also really like the way that everything looked. It has that Connect 4 feel because you're dropping the stuff in there. So I think the presentation is really well. Also, after you clear the board, like there's 4 tiles or less, you start pulling more tiles out of the bag to add more to the board. It's a simple, fun, cute game. I think it's worth $30. You know, I wouldn't pay $40 or $50 for this game. I think I paid like $30 for it. I believe it's worth $30. The components are cool. It's a fun-looking game. It's a decent quality game. It's just, you know, once you sort of figure out what to do, you kind of know what to do. So it's not a Euro game where, like once you figured out the mechanic for it all, you win. No, because every time you put pieces down, they're always random on that board that's in the middle. So there's never like a set way to do that. Also, when you draw pieces from off the middle of the board, you have to go in straight lines. You can't go diagonally, and you can only draw 1, 2, 3. So it's either 1 piece, 2 pieces, or 3 pieces. So you might see somebody on their board starting to go for like a big, like for example, you see those 3 blue pieces on my board or on the board in front of us. I might want to hate draft to stop somebody else who already has a bunch of blue. because I know they're going to get so many points with so many blues connected type of a thing. So it makes it kind of fun where you can kind of backstab each other a little bit, but it's just really cute. I really, really, really like the presentation. I also like the simplicity of the rules. It's one that I'll keep because it's one that I feel like I could introduce new gamers to in a way where it's like, okay, here's something where you're sort of doing set collection, but it is set collection in the sense that you want to get so much of X, Y, and Z, but it's also not your typical set collection. But it's fun, it's cute. It's called My Shelfie. It's a good family game. My 5-year-old was also playing, who's now 6 today. Happy birthday, baby girl.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
And she liked it okay. She liked it okay. But my niece and my nephew and my eldest daughter really liked it. They had a lot of fun, and that was the age range of 10 to 13. And I liked it. I thought it was fun. I also enjoyed playing with them, so it was fun. A good fun family game. My Shelfie.
Awesome. It looks cool. I love the aesthetics of her.
That looks cool.
My game, or one of my games here that I played, was Freelancers. I did a live play of this on the Dice Tower. And I mean, this is going to be in the running for me for like game of the year for me, just because like I love this game so much. I really enjoyed Forgotten Waters because of what Plaid Hat did with the crossroad system in that, and the piratey feel and the voice acting. But Freelancers takes that and makes it even more streamlined, so it's a simpler game to play. It gives you like a D&D Adventure Time vibe, and the voice acting in this is so amazing and so hilarious that it just makes the game for me. Like, I like games like Tales of the Arabian Nights and Forgotten Waters and stuff like that, but this just makes it like, it's just like stupendous, like the way it comes together. You're going through a different adventure and like going on a map, exploring different locations. You build your character with, you give them a name and like have like mad libs of kind of like their backstory a little bit. And then most of the game is just them slowly getting stats that allow them to roll bigger sided dice with the 20 sided dice that they roll to try to do like skill checks. That's almost the whole game. You're just running around, working together cooperatively to go through different stuff. You can end up getting a bunch of followers that go in this bag, and you're trying to like manage the radiation type stuff coming out of the bag, and the more followers you throw in there, the more follower events that can happen, so I can slow that down. But the timing and the app in this game and the story just feels so like real and cool. It just feels like you're having an experience while you play this game. It was outstanding when I played it, and I really love this game. And this is a game that me and Ruth are going to a friend's house over the weekend, and then going to like amusement parks hopefully for our anniversary. But we might try to play this game with her friends just because like it's such a blast to play. I love Freelancers, so I definitely think, I know Adam would be head over heels for this game, just because the way that it works together. But honestly, I think all of you would like it a lot. Freelancers is a lot of fun.
That sounds like my brand of chaos. So
it is definitely chaotic. It's definitely very silly. There's also in the app, there's a part where it says, "Hey, how do you feel about strong language?" If you don't like strong language, click you don't like strong language, because then it basically switches over to where now the voice acting has like cursing mixed in with it and stuff like that, and it can go hard sometimes. But it's just so funny. It's hilarious. The humor in this is amazing. It feels like you're playing through like an Adventure Time like scenario, but it's better writing and more funny than Adventure Time for sure. I love it.
I'm glad you're enjoying it. This is like so on my short list of things to play soon. So
yeah, it just feels
full. Is it full co-op or like semi-co-op?
It is fully cooperative. Yeah, it's fully cooperative. I don't think it still has like those locations where someone has to go to a location like on the different pages, just like Forgotten Waters did, but it's not that big of a deal. When we played, I didn't get as much of a sense of like, Forgotten Waters is kind of semi-co-op, but the only thing is you're just trying to fulfill your epic pirate thing. Yeah. This has a little bit of that, but not really, not even the same. They don't even have as much of an emphasis on that. Like, you're not like a selfish pirate in this. You're an adventuring party working together to get stuff done. There's also a lot more cooperation because you can, when somebody rolls bad, you can basically take stress on your character to let them re-roll. So everybody's kind of like helping each other re-roll dice, which could knock you out and could make things worse, but you're trying to make sure people are succeeding in their roles. So it's extremely cooperative, actually. So yeah, there's a lot more cooperation in this. even better story, even better voice acting, which is insane to say because Forgotten Waters was like really, really good voice acting. I think it's even more fun in this game. But yeah, if it sounds like I'm gushing about this game, it's because I am, because like I loved it. Like I really love the game. So, but yeah, Freelancers is a blast. And it's made by Donald Schultz, who we had on the podcast like forever ago, which is kind of crazy. He did Bored with Life, and it's just really cool to see him having like put this game together. And yes, it's very D&D inspired as far as like you're rolling D20s to try to get skill checks. But I love the system for it. It's really makes it easy to get into. But yeah, you guys should play Freelancers.
It's basically Frosthaven.
It's definitely not nearly as complex as that.
I think I'm gonna definitely get this and make sure I have it played sometime this fall. As I love Forgotten Waters too. So I'm actually, we had not talked about this, so I'm glad to hear your endorsement of it.
Yeah, I think the Dice Tower review is going up maybe tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow. But yeah, you'll hear me gush about it again in that as well. So, but yeah, and then I also played, Marvel Champions. I always play Marvel Champions. I played the Next Evolution box set. My review for this is also going up tomorrow. But yeah, I love Marvel Champions. I love playing with the X-Force characters. And I played this with Scotty. I played it with Ruthie. I also played with Joey from work. I love this picture of Ruthie all bundled up in the floor playing Marvel Champions with me. But this adds Domino and Cable to the game, and you're playing through a different slew of, like, you have Juggernaut and Mr. Sinister and Strife and all these cool characters that you're playing against. I binged like the entire campaign in 2 days. So
wow.
I had a blast with it. I haven't played Marvel Champion, or I haven't gotten any new Marvel Champion stuff in like 6 months almost, you know. So I was like, Marvel Champions, go! And I did. I played with different people throughout the campaign. I was the consistent thing, but it was still fun. So, but yeah, we had a lot of fun with it. What did you think about the Marvel Champions?
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You played as Domino,
Domino.
right? Domino has this whole thing where she like she can switch out the top card of the deck and like does a lot of thing with wild cards.
Right. You have to put cards back on top of the deck.
Mm-hmm. And then she gets bonuses for discarding cards off the top of the deck, and it's like you set that up.
I always need a little bit of help in card games because it's reading like large paragraphs. It doesn't register. I'm like, what is this? And then Roy just like looks at it. He's like, oh, that means this. And I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I want to play this.
And the good thing is like when it's a cooperative game, it makes it like so much easier to just be like, oh yeah, this kind of does that sort of thing. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, Marvel Champions is still like firing on all cylinders for me. So I love that game. But yeah,
I think She-Hulk is still one of my favorite.
Yeah.
To play.
Yeah, she's a lot of fun. I need to get all my stuff back. My car's in the shop, and like all of my Marvel Champions stuff is in my trunk.
In there.
So, I was only like, this is like the first time I've had it to even play in a little bit. So like I got this, and then I got the stuff from the studio to actually be able to play the game. I need a standard set of bad guy cards to put in the deck so I can actually play. But then I played it a ton. But yeah, Marvel Champions all the time. Okay, Courtney's game.
All right, so we've been playing Arceus. It's a co-op campaign style game. It's like themed in Egypt, so it's got like you're battling scarabs and mummies and stuff like that. We've played through like the first 4 scenarios, I think, or
4 or 5.
4 or 5. I think one of them was like a tutorial, but it's really simple game where each person just take turns and you're taking like 2 actions, you know, your move and you're searching items, and you're like fighting these, you know, monsters or things. And one of the things that I really like about this game is there's no like bad guy turn or whatever. There's no upkeep phase in most, or at least in the campaign. I think in one of the scenarios there was like a little upkeep phase, but on most like 3 of the 4 scenarios that we played, there hasn't been. So it's just, you're just going back for taking turns. There's no turns where like the monsters come out and get you more, and like so that kind of makes it a whole lot better, I feel like, because you're not like, okay, well, let me just do this, so they hit me for this, and then they hit me for this, okay, and then now we can take our turn, kind of thing. So I I really like story-driven games too. I think the story in this is kind of neat, and
nice.
so I would probably keep playing it over and over again. But Kent gets tired of campaign games after a while, so we did put it up for a little bit. So, but you're like rolling dice to like kill monsters, and you're like becoming more powerful, and you're like leveling up, and like after each campaign, you can like make your player more. And my player is like really good at fighting stuff, so I like doing that. So like killing all the monsters and stuff like that. So, but it's just really simple, and I like games too that like comparing to like Mansions of Madness, you feel that time pressure, I guess, more so with the app because it's like registering how many turns you've taken so far, and
Gotcha. I was going to ask if this
it gets
was
harder
app-driven.
and harder. Like it's not app driven.
It feels kind of app driven, but
It feels kind of like that, but there's no app. But like,
Interesting.
I feel like Mansions of Madness gets like harder the longer you take to like each turn you take. It gets hard. Like more monsters are going to come out the longer you take. Whereas this one, which Kent didn't really like the fact, but he said it felt too on rails. But I kind of like the fact that you feel like you have time to explore everything. Oh, there's something over there. I don't feel like I can. I mean, there is a time limit kind of with some of the tokens that you have to take. You can't take forever, but we've never like gotten even close to running out of time, and we've been able to like search every single thing that we could do, which Kent, like I said, felt like it was too on rails that like we did that. But I don't know, I like that. I don't like having to feel like, oh, I didn't get to search everything, because like I feel like the game's more about exploring than and like fighting monsters than trying to do something in a short amount of time, I guess. So that's kind of what I liked about it. But I would definitely recommend it if you like that kind of theme. And you like campaign co-op games. But
So you would say it felt a little bit more casual without like the time pressure sort of thing.
yeah.
Gotcha.
But I feel like you got more out of like the exploring and the story out of it kind of thing.
Oh, gotcha.
But I thought I liked it a lot.
I like the fact that it uses all the little boxes, so it feels like you're going into the different rooms. The
components are really good. Yeah, the miniatures are good.
So there's not like event cards or anything then.
Well, so the whole thing is card driven with the story, and each scenario has an episode box that has certain cards in it. And so see those tokens have the little icons on them. So like that's like an orange, like the orange dog icon. So like in this scenario, the orange dog icon is a different card or something. So like you pick a card from that scenario, and like you go through all these cards, and the cards might say like add new boxes, set up this thing, add a monster, something happens.
So it's like you start off with one setup where you might have one box on the table, and then by the end of it, you have like 5 different boxes.
Oh, that's
which is
cool.
kind of neat too, because it's kind of like Mansions of Madness in that way too, where you're
grows.
exploring more, and so it opens up the game more. Yeah.
The cards have a lot of surprises and stuff, so you definitely aren't expecting certain things to come out. Oh, and the stickers. You talk about the stickers.
Oh, it is kind of a legacy thing. There's like a campaign log book that you keep track of your progress. So that's kind of the one bad thing, is we were thinking about, when we were done with it, I don't know, you can't replay. I mean, I think there are one-off scenarios I think you can do.
I don't
Oh,
think
they're
so.
not?
I don't
Okay.
think so.
Because there was those other things we haven't even
maybe
done.
The expansions. Maybe the expansions.
I think, yeah.
But the main game is not.
But the campaign is not really playable, and we haven't looked into like if you can rebuy another log, like just the logbook. So it's like maybe we could, give that to
Restart it
somebody
or
else or
whatever.
resell
It's
it
kind
or
of like
something.
maybe like how at Gloomhaven you put stickers on the board, or like you have in this you have a camp book and you put your different upgrades to your camp, and you put different stickers for like how well you did in the scenarios, and you have check marks on stuff. So yeah, you definitely destroy the book in the process.
Yeah.
Yeah. This looks really cool. I feel like I would be more interested in it if it was one-off, It's just so many campaign games. Oh.
Yeah, we have so many. I love campaign games. And I told Kent, I was like, I'm the type of person, I would just like leave it set up, and like I would just play it through until we're done with it. Like I'm just that type of person. But Kent's like, can we put it away yet? Can we put it away?
For me, every time I
like
see campaign stuff, it's like, I should probably just play D&D instead, because if it's going to be that much effort, but it is what it is.
Yeah. I like the theme, though. It seems like Dungeon Crawler is like going,
That is cool.
Yeah.
going kind of, what do you call it, Curse of the Pharaoh.
That is cool.
It's been a minute, I think, since we've had one like that, or I can't even think of one, but that's awesome. That's always like a fun Dungeon Crawler adjacent theme that has so much stuff to draw from, so that makes it look really sweet.
Awesome. Well, we can get into this week's topic, which is choosing the correct game. My idea for this is just kind of like, hey, based on how do you choose what game to bring out at game nights, like based on the people that you have, and us giving tips or our thoughts on like how to find the correct game for different groups of people. So does anybody have any specific things they want to say about this as far as like, how do you choose what games to bring to the table? Rob.
Yeah, for me, a lot of it depends on the personality of the people that I'm playing with, right? Like, I would not play Telestrations with Kent, but I would play, like a social deduction game or something like that. So that's the main thing that I look for when I'm trying to play games or introduce people to games. I want to see what their personality is like. How well they deal with other people. Or are they funny, or are they more uptight, or are they more of an introvert and they're like, hey man, don't say anything to me, then I might get a game that's like a Telestrations where you really don't have to say anything, and then you can just quietly laugh and awkwardly look at people until you're comfortable to then actually say something. So that's one of the first things that I do. And I know this is gonna sound weird, I also try to see how loud people are. I know it's kind of like on the same vein. But if somebody's really loud to me, then I'm probably going to push the limits with something that's maybe a little crazier. And if somebody's just like, yeah, man, I'll just do whatever you want, whatever you want to play. Like if you're trying to play a game with that person that like wants to agree with everything, if I don't like you, I'm going to try to pick the craziest game just to mess with you. Because I'm just like, all right, man, I don't need a yes man here. I need somebody to make a decision. And so since you don't want to make a decision, I'm going to say something where I know I'm going to destroy you. And then here we go. And so I'll just go around that boat. But that's how I typically start off choosing the correct game. I think I've only ever done that once, just to clarify. If you play games with me for the first time, I think I've only ever like done that one time. But I knew the person, and they were just very annoying, and they were being annoying on purpose.
I'm sorry, Rob. Goodness.
No. So anyway, but I try to feel the room. Because something I may like, they may not like, right? And so if I'm trying to like help them get the right game, I just want to draw them in. So that's how I start off. I'll let you guys say some more, and then I'll add some more to it.
What about you, Adam?
I'm a question asker with it. I have, as you guys know, and I'm sure I've mentioned it on the pod too, is I play at work a bit, so I play a lot of shorter games, and it's something that I brought into, or I work at a university. This is not like happening in a boardroom or anything for anybody who's trying to picture this. It's loose, but I introduced it to work, and I have a lot of games that I can bring in, and I think the big thing when people express interest who haven't played is asking them questions, which is like what do you know about this, and what has like stopped you from coming and playing before? Because I think the biggest thing is like it seems like the thing that stops people from playing like hobby games, even lighter ones, is like what they perceive to be what makes it inaccessible, or what they feel is their own shortcoming being able to play a game. And usually once you ask and you find that out, it's like, oh, you can kind of diffuse what they're concerned with and be like, wait till you see this game, right? Like, so if you're like, I really have a hard time remembering all these rules, or I have a hard time, like I played the X game before and I was, awful at it. I think those are kind of the things that help me like pick something for somebody, because it's usually two goals I have. One is that the thing that is bothering you, we probably have a game that is not going to do that. And then two, hopefully nobody we're playing with cares whether you're adequate at something or not. I play games that I am inadequate at all the time. And I think mostly for like folks like that, when I'm trying to introduce them, it's I want them to be comfortable and walk away with a good experience, even if they never like come back and play games again. They might even be like, oh, it's too dry for me, or it was too silly for me, but I want them to have a good time. So for me, it's finding that out. What do you know? And I guess I'm trying to defeat the negative. So it's what has stopped you from playing in the past. And again, I'm answering that from the perspective of spending a lot of my time kind of introducing people, either to gaming in general or to bringing them up from like a very party game level to something that's maybe a little bit more intermediate or a little bit more like gateway.
Yeah. Grant, he's a guy who does comedy. He's a comedian. He did a little stand-up thing at the Dice Tower Awards, but he's like saying, he talked to somebody, he's like, oh, I don't really like board games. He's like, what do you mean you don't like board? He's like, oh, I went to a board game night, and like I've never really played board games before, and it was just all these woodland creatures, and everybody had different powers, and I couldn't remember anything, and it's my first time ever playing. I was like, did somebody make you play Root for your first game ever? They made you play Root? It's like, don't force people to play the game that you want to necessarily play, this big, heavy, asymmetrical game with tons of different rules. Like, you have to kind of meet people where they're at, you know? And I mean, maybe certain people might eventually get there with that sort of thing, but if they never get to the Root level, that's also okay. You know, you just have to kind of meet people where they're at and finding games that like work with their group. I love like trying to figure out what games will work for different groups of people, you know? Like I will be like, okay, this is probably going to work good for these. Like when Ruthie's friends come over, I'll pick a bunch of different party games or a bunch of different lighter games because they don't have a lot of tabletop board gaming experience, you know? Like when Matt and everybody first started coming, it'd be a bunch of social deduction games and a little bit lighter games, and we started doing deck building games, and then we just kind of evolved into like, okay, now we're doing area control games. And anything where we could lie to each other and backstab each other was on the table, you know?
Yeah.
This reminds me of like, just the first time where I had to pick out a game where we went to, I'm like, oh, we should take board games when we were visiting my family. And keep in mind, there's a language barrier between my parents and Roy because they just primarily speak Spanish. So there's a language barrier. I'm like, what game would be good to play between Roy and my parents where there's not a lot of communication?
Right.
And I'm like, Strike. I'm like, Strike is perfect. We just rolling dice. And my mom, we went so many rounds just playing Strike. And my mom's like, I want to keep playing. I'm like, okay. My dad's like playing, Roy's playing. We were all playing just multiple rounds of Strike. And they had a blast. And they're like, we want to keep playing. I'm pretty sure they bought that game. So that was, you know, that was a game we were able to introduce to them to board games, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and be like, oh, this is kind of a little bit of what he does. A little bit is just play different games, you know, just different stuff like that. So
yeah,
it's kind of cool.
That's a good game.
Yeah.
What about
it's very thematic too?
Yeah.
those gladiators? They really could feel the gladiator theme, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's so cool though that you're playing. You know, even if you have communication issues, you're still able to play a game and connect with family. Make it a little weird where like Roy keeps beating your dad. Your dad might.
That game is so lucky, and I was just wrecking, which is weird because it's like luck.
They really were, and my mom's like, she was like she's like feisty, and she's like the shortest one there. She's like Roy. She was like getting.
It's fine. I didn't understand.
That's where Ruthie gets it from, right?
Exactly. I definitely do.
But yeah, it was so funny because like I was explaining the rules in English to Ruthie, like reminding her of everything, and then she would translate that into Spanish, and like if they had questions, it would just be back and forth. It's just fun to have like those interactions,
Right.
So and board games bringing people to the table together, is always fun. Mm-hmm. So, what about you guys, Kent and Courtney?
What do you got?
I mean, mostly what you guys have already said. Just kind of looking at who you're playing with, I think, is the most important thing, and like you said, meeting them where they're at. Like, if I usually try to aim. I like lighter games in general, and I always feel like it's better to play something lighter than what they can handle than play something heavier than what they can handle. I think anybody's gonna enjoy that a little bit more, because especially if you're playing with new gamers and you playing Last Light with everybody, like you've said, people are going to enjoy a game more that they can win, and they're going to have better experience sometimes if they win. So it's like sometimes when we're playing games with like Kent's family, I feel kind of guilty a lot of times when I'm winning so much, because I'm like, I don't want to take away from that experience, but they keep playing games with us, so maybe I'm not. But I'm always like,
they still talk about how you win all the time.
They still talk about how I win all the time. So but
everybody talks about how you win all the time. I mean, it's not just
we're all plotting against you.
No, but like I always tell Kent, I'd rather play a game with them that they can feel like I'm like they can feel competitive at, like I'm not just, like, or Kent too, like we're not just like wiping the floor with them because it's taken them the whole game to figure out how to play it. Like I always try to aim for lighter just because I feel like people are going to enjoy it more if they have an actual chance of winning, and especially if it's a game we've played before but they haven't. I feel like because playing a game other people playing a game like with Kent playing Challengers the other night, it's like I could tell he's been playing it a lot like online because he was knowing exactly what cards to choose and kind of stuff to do better.
He's trying to prove me wrong, being like, there is strategy, you can win, there is skill, there is choice.
There's definitely strategy.
I do feel like Kent is a good salesman in a group of board gamers though too. Like I'm going to give you some credit here, Kent. Like whereas I spend a lot of my time like dealing with like, it's funny you guys mentioned the language barrier. I have an exchange student from Germany that moved in Sunday. Nice. And my daughter's already playing games with her, but I was like, her English is very good. I'm like, but my daughter really wanted to play medium. And I was like, medium's kind of weird because you have to look at each other and go, I know these certain little vernaculars in between these words, and that might be a bit much for her yet. And you have to appreciate that, like, while she seems to be able to play whatever, that might be a step too far because the language thing is not as nuanced, And I'm good at dealing with that. Like, where are you at when you're being introduced to this? Kent, in a group full of a bunch of people who will happily tell him that something's trash, is usually pretty good at like I'm actually interested in what you do, like, because Challengers is a game, like, obviously we've heard Roy like flush it down the toilet and then try to plunge it and then flush it again a couple of times. But like Kent seems to like know his crowd really well, and it's all gamers. Like it's like, oh, this is a Euro game, but I think we can get Rob to play it. Like there's a lot of that you'll do, and then you'll sell. And I do think you have a pretty good idea of what everyone wants and where some of those intersections are at. It helps that you know the rules to all these games better than everybody, but it's, sometimes we joke with Kent and we treat him like he's the rules nerd of the group, but I think there's a lot of thoughtfulness. Well, yeah, he definitely is. But it also feels like there's some thoughtfulness to like knowing those rules, right? Like it matters how you apply them to people.
See,
which I don't think
that feeds into what you're saying. For me, for picking a game, I try to find things that I think people would like. I play all sorts of games and I like all types of games. But like if I'm going to go play games with Rob, I'm bringing a very specific group of games. But I'm trying to find games that I think Rob would like specifically. Like if I'm just playing with Rob, but when I
play games with you all over the spectrum, I feel.
I know. But like I said, I'm not. There's plenty of games I would never bring to you ever.
He also tries to stretch you sometimes.
It just has to look good. I played I think Brass Birmingham is a heavy Euro game.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
And so, all right, sorry.
But the same thing, like just going, like if I'm gonna go play games with my family or play games with. I have a game group I go to occasionally that's usually mostly non-gamers. So like I try to find specifically like what I think they would appreciate or what they would like. And that may not be something I really like that much, but it's something I'm still willing to play. So a lot of times I'll play something that's like, I'm okay playing it. It's fun. It's fine. But it's like, I think they would love it. So that's kind of my approach. I kind of like put them first if I can. Not always, but like it's one of my, I keep that in the back of my mind when I'm trying to introduce games to people or bring a game for somebody. And the other thing is I try to make them have a good experience. So I'm not going to bring a game, have them play at max player count when I know we could play a max player count, but it might be long. It might be kind of tedious. It might get worn out. So like I might suggest something else because even though they might like it, maybe we play this game just because it's going to be a better experience overall. For you.
For sure.
Yeah.
You don't want to.
That's Kent's good about telling people that too. Again, I'm just going to compliment you more, Kent. Courtney, don't get used to this. I'm not going to do it the next time we're in person. But I can think specifically of being in a room with Kent and being like, that would be great, but I want everyone to be able to play, and it's not good at 6 or something. Like, and he won't lead you into a tunnel where a game that he thinks you might otherwise enjoy would be frustrating, right? And I think
we would enjoy if just a couple of you players would leave. No, I'm just kidding.
There's some games you can usually find something that would work. Typically, I mean, it depends on the situation, but
yeah, I agree. I think it's one of the fun things too, as being like a board game host, and that's one thing that I miss sometimes is like. Being here at the Dice Tower, I don't get to host as much except when like Ruthie's friends come over and stuff. But being the person to like bring the game to the table and be like, I think this is really going to work well in this situation, is really fun.
You can host me, Roy. My wife wants to bring the German exchange student to Disney World, and I don't really do parks anymore, so I'm just going to come to your house.
Okay.
I'm just going to drive across the state.
We'll
I don't know yet. I don't know. She goes,
I mean, it's only 4 hours away, so.
What am I going to be doing? That's like, if they're in Magic Kingdom for 2 days, I'll be on your couch. I'm not going.
My couch is definitely cheaper than Magic Kingdom, I'll tell you that much. So.
Yeah, that's like $300 I don't have to spend if they're in our, you know how it is. What else can you do in Orlando?
I mean, there's a ton of things to do in Orlando, but none of it is cheap. None of it.
Right.
That's true.
Another thing I like to do is if I am bringing people in and we're trying to get beyond the party game stuff, I'll do a lot of co-op games. Well, I won't say a lot. I don't have a lot of co-op, but I'll bring in a co-op game to them get an idea of like, look, we're all going to do this together, because I don't know if you guys experience this when you play with like new board gamers. They sometimes, at least in the beginning, when you get to a game that's more than just Monopoly or Life or something, they want you to hold their hand, and so they don't feel as threatened if you're playing a co-op game. Even if you're playing something as crazy as like Cthulhu Death May Die, which you're going to lose. I don't think I've ever won that game, but it's just like, okay, like Rob's on my team, and Rob somewhat has an idea of what he's doing, and he's the one who at least owns the game, so I feel a little bit better about that. And then after they realize that I don't know what I'm doing and I lose terribly, they're like, how about we play a game where I don't have to listen to Rob and we're not co-op? But they see the advancement of the games that are the co-op and how they're a little bit more meatier. Mm-hmm. And then it kind of opens up their eyes to, well, what about this game over here? Or what about this thing over here? Like, yeah, Rob, I love you, but you're just enough of an idiot that I want to try it on my own. And so it makes it fun. So I like to do like the party, fun, light games, co-op games, and then bring in some of the meatier games. Now, some people do like to jump into it, and I'll piggyback off of Adam. Kent is really good about saying, yeah, that's fun, but it might be a little too much, with so many people. I have heard him say that before. So you just got to know your crowd. You got to know who you're playing with and what kind of crazy people they are, right?
I love cooperative games, especially for new gamers, just because, for one, if people aren't gamers, a lot of times they have no clue what a cooperative game is. I mean, even now, even though cooperative games are so mainstream, it's like, wait, we work together? That's crazy. Most games you work against each other. No, we get to work together in this. And it kind of like makes the barrier of entry easier because you aren't feeling like you have to compete with somebody else, and you don't have to feel inadequate. Right. We all either win or lose together. So if we lose, it's like not that big of a deal because we all lost. If we win, it's awesome because we all won. It just is a great like group bonding experience just because, whether you win or lose, you're going to have a good time. And someone who's new to this doesn't have to feel like, oh, I was dumb, they had way more points than me sort of thing, Yeah, so it makes it just so much easier for, I mean, people don't really get hurt feelings in cooperative games like that, so it just makes it a lot of fun.
They shouldn't.
As long as you don't alpha game them too hard.
Yeah, exactly. Just don't
keep that out.
Make sure to let people make their own choices, So, but yeah.
Be an advice giving machine at that point, right? Like, just ask
unless
anything.
they want it. Some people want it.
So like, what do I do this? You can give suggestions and be like, oh, you could do this or this or this or this, Normally, I try to get people, if people ask for suggestions, I try to give them multiple things. Like, oh, what would you like to do? There are many options. Don't be like, I think you should do this. No.
Yeah.
Like, be like, well, you could do multiple things. Well, which one's the best one? I don't know. Maybe this one, but there's randomness involved. So any of these, it's always interesting to try to figure out how to navigate that stuff. But awesome, guys. Well, I guess that pretty much wraps up this episode of the Epic Gaming Night podcast. I do want to say thank you to everybody who joined us in chat, and say thank you to everybody who's listening to this. Make sure to hit us up on all of our social media. Make sure to shout out the Epic Gaming Night, and hopefully we'll see you guys at like a convention or event sometime. It's awesome. Me and Ruthie and the Parkers are going to be at the Dice Tower Retreat coming up here in a couple weeks. And Adam's going to be on my couch in a couple weeks, I guess.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Uh-oh. He's going to show up unannounced. But
make sure you knock.
Oh man, I'm coming with a bag of tacos and a sleeping bag. It's
That's awesome. That's awesome.
You can eat tacos now?
I mean,
Gluten-free
All the
tacos.
goat cheese and stuff I had to. Okay, we're gonna eat tacos now. Okay.
It's gluten free.
some gluten-free shells, man.
Corn is
Corn shells.
free
Corn
anyway.
shells. Yep.
Yeah, I can do corn shells. Yeah.
There you go. Awesome, everybody. Well, thanks so much, everybody, for coming on the show. And it's been a blast. It's always awesome to catch up with everybody.
Bye, you guys.
We'll see everybody.
Bye.
Have an awesome night. Bye.
Have a good night, Ahsoka. Go watch it.
Peace.